0 seconds. The San Andreas Fault runs 800 miles through California. For the past 300 years, the southern section, from the Salton Sea up through the Inland Empire and past Cajon Pass, has been locked. The two plates pressing against each other haven't slipped. The stress has just built, year after year, stored in the rock like a spring being compressed. The spring releases now. Near the Salton Sea, the Pacific and North American plates lurch past each other by several meters in an instant. Roads crossing the fault jump sideways. Irrigation channels in the Coachella Valley snap apart. The rupture doesn't stay in one place. It races northwest along the fault at roughly 3 kilometers per second, unzipping toward Los Angeles faster than any warning system can follow. 5 seconds later. The rupture reaches Palm Springs. Hotels along the main strip sway hard enough to throw people out of bed. Storefronts in the older downtown collapse into the street. The wind farms near the San Gorgonio Pass, thousands of turbines on a ridge above the fault, begin automatic shutdowns as the ground beneath their foundations shifts. Power lines snap as the poles holding them tilt in opposite directions. People who feel it and know what it is drop in cover. People who don't, tourists, visitors, anyone who has never been in a serious earthquake, stand and look around for a second or two. That second or two is when the ceiling panels come down. The rupture is still moving. Palm Springs is just the beginning, 20 seconds later. The fault crosses under the main infrastructure corridors feeding Los Angeles. Water, power, gas, freight, and highway traffic between Southern California and the rest of the country all converge at Cajon Pass, a narrow gap through the San Gabriel Mountains northeast of Los Angeles. The San Andreas runs directly through it. As the rupture reaches Cajon Pass, Interstate 15 shifts, not cracks, shifts horizontally, with sections of road offset by meters from where they were a second ago. A truck doing 65 miles per hour on that section has nowhere to go. Freight rail lines through the pass buckle, the tracks that carry goods from inland ports and cross-country rail networks into Los Angeles twist off their grading. Transmission towers carrying high-voltage power lines over the mountains tilt and fall. Gas pipelines sense the rupture and trigger automatic shutoffs, which is the right thing to do, and also means the gas supply to tens of millions of people has just been cut. Los Angeles is still standing. Its connections to the outside world are being physically severed while it stands. 45 seconds later. The seismic waves enter the Los Angeles basin. The basin is filled with sediment, thousands of feet of soft material deposited over millions of years. Seismic waves travel more slowly through soft sediment than through hard rock, and when they slow down, they amplify. The basin acts like a bowl of water being shaken. The energy sloshes back and forth, extending the duration and intensity of shaking far beyond what the fault rupture itself would produce at this distance. Downtown skyscrapers sway. Modern high-rises were engineered for this. They flex rather than break, and most of them will survive. But the building stock of Los Angeles is not mostly modern high-rises. It's millions of older structures, wood-frame apartments, unreinforced concrete buildings from the mid-century, soft-story apartment buildings where the ground floor is an open parking garage. Those are the buildings that kill people. In East Los Angeles, apartment buildings that have sat on soft ground for 50 years begin failing at their ground floors. In Hollywood, masonry facades, decorative brick faces attached to older buildings peel off and fall onto the sidewalks below. Whoever was walking under them a moment ago is under them still. The Hollywood sign shakes on its hillside above a city that is, block by block, coming apart. 1 minute later. The worst of the shaking is over. Dust hangs between buildings across downtown. Car alarms are going off on every block. People are emerging from doorways, from under desks, from wherever they dropped, looking at streets they don't recognize anymore. The Walk of Fame is covered in glass and chunks of masonry. A section of freeway overpass on the 10 has collapsed. Cars on the upper deck drove off the edge before they could stop. The fires are already starting. 5 minutes later. The gas lines that didn't have automatic shutoffs, older ones, smaller ones, residential lines in neighborhoods built before modern safety codes, are leaking into structures that have just been cracked open. All it takes is a water heater pilot light, a downed power line, a snapped electrical connection sparking in a utility room. In the San Fernando Valley, smoke is rising from 2 residential blocks simultaneously. Near industrial areas east of downtown, a warehouse fire has started that will be difficult to stop even under normal conditions. These are not normal conditions. Fire crews are getting the calls. They're also navigating streets blocked by collapsed facades, burst water mains that have turned intersections into rivers, and the 10,000 car accidents that happened simultaneously when the shaking hit during the morning commute. The fire engines can't move at their normal speed, and the fires can. 10 minutes later. The phone network is effectively down. Cell systems are designed for a percentage of users calling simultaneously. On a normal day, most people aren't on the phone at once. Right now, everyone in Southern California is trying to call someone at the same time. The networks saturate instantly. Calls drop, texts queue and don't send. The apps that require data, maps, news, social media, load slowly or not at all. Into that information vacuum, rumors fill immediately. A tsunami warning is spreading on social media. It is not official, it is not accurate, but thousands of people near the coast start driving away from the water anyway, adding to gridlock in the coastal zones. Someone posts that a dam in the mountains has failed. False, but enough people share it that some neighborhoods begin evacuating on their own. A radio station that's still broadcasting is the most reliable information source in Southern California right now. And most people don't have a battery-powered radio. People are making decisions: drive or stay, evacuate or wait, go find their kids or trust that the school has them. Based on almost no reliable information, some of those decisions will turn out to be right, some will not. 30 minutes later, the freeways have stopped. Every major highway in Southern California, the 405, the 101, the 10, the 5, is gridlocked. Some sections are gridlocked because of collapsed structures blocking lanes. Some are gridlocked because of accidents from the shaking. Most are gridlocked because millions of people decided simultaneously that they needed to be somewhere else. And they all drove toward the same limited number of exits from the basin. People are abandoning their cars in traffic and walking. Some are walking toward the schools where their children are. Some are walking toward the neighborhoods where their parents live. Some are just walking away from the smoke. The freeways of Los Angeles, normally the arteries of the region, are now long parking lots filling with people on foot, carrying whatever they grabbed when they left. Emergency vehicles cannot get through. The ambulances and fire trucks are stuck in the same gridlock as everyone else, sirens running, going nowhere. 1 hour later, the first major aftershock hits, a magnitude 6.5, large enough to be a significant earthquake on its own, shakes Southern California again. Buildings that survived the main event with cracked walls and compromised foundations now have less margin. Several that were standing lose their remaining structural integrity and come down. Rescue workers who had begun entering damaged buildings to search for trapped survivors retreat as the shaking restarts. In the mountains above the city, the aftershock triggers new rock falls. Roads through the San Gabriel Mountains that were passable, barely, after the main event, are blocked again. The communities in those mountain valleys which had a narrow escape route open lose it. People who are starting to calm down panic again. The open spaces, parks, parking lots, school athletic fields, fill with people who have decided they're not going back inside any building regardless of what they're told. This is not an irrational decision. After an aftershock that size, it's hard to argue with them. 6 hours later, water pressure is gone across large sections of Los Angeles and the fire is spreading. The water system under Los Angeles is a network of aging pipes, many of them running under streets that have just been shifted, cracked, and liquefied in sections. Hundreds of mains have ruptured simultaneously. The reservoirs are still full. The water exists, but it can't get to the neighborhoods that need it because the pipes between the reservoirs and those neighborhoods are broken. Fire crews reaching burning blocks open hydrants and get a trickle. In the hills above Hollywood, where the houses are dense, the lots are dry, and the roads are narrow and now debris strewn, a fire that started from a broken gas line is moving through the neighborhood. The people who evacuated early are gone. The people who waited to see if it would come their way are now leaving in a hurry on foot because their cars can't get out through the traffic. This is what happened in 1906 in San Francisco. The earthquake broke the water mains, and then the fires burned for 3 days. Los Angeles in 2025 has more water infrastructure, more fire stations, more equipment. It also has 4 times the population and significantly more to burn. 12 hours later, night falls on a city that is mostly dark. The power grid across Southern California lost generation and transmission capacity when the earthquake hit. Lines down, substations damaged, the Cajon Pass transmission corridor cut. Emergency switching has restored power to some areas, prioritizing hospitals and critical infrastructure. The rest of the basin is dark. Downtown Los Angeles, normally visible from 50 miles away, is a silhouette against orange sky. The Griffith Observatory sits above the city on its hill, intact, overlooking a metropolis lit only by fires. It has survived every earthquake since it was built in 1935. Tonight, it's one of the few structures in Los Angeles with a clear view of how bad this actually is. In the parks and parking lots where people are sleeping outside, the aftershocks continue through the night. Every new tremor, and there are dozens, most small, some not, produces the same reaction. People scramble to their feet, look around, wait, then slowly settle back down, then wait again. Nobody is sleeping well. One day later, the water is the crisis that matters most now. Bottled water sold out within hours of the earthquake. Emergency distribution points are operating. National Guard trucks with water tankers, fire stations handing out whatever they have. But the lines are long and the supply is limited, and the geography of a city this size means that some neighborhoods are miles from the nearest distribution point, on roads that aren't fully passable. People are collecting water from swimming pools. It's not safe to drink without treatment, but people are doing it anyway. Residents of high-rise buildings without working elevators or water pressure are facing a straightforward calculation: carrying water up 20 flights of stairs or leaving. Most are leaving, joining the already enormous population sleeping in parks and open spaces across the city. The neighborhoods closest to the fault, in the Inland Empire, and communities along the Rupture Trace, have it worse. Some are physically isolated. The roads in are blocked or damaged, the communications are down, and the people who live there are managing on whatever they had in their homes when the earthquake hit. 3 days later, 200 miles to the east, Hoover Dam is fine. The seismic waves from the earthquake reached Nevada and Arizona, and the dam was inspected immediately. It's intact. The concrete is intact. Lake Mead sloshed slightly. This did not stop a cascade of social media posts claiming the dam had cracked, was cracking, or was about to fail. Posts that sent some communities downstream toward their cars before corrections came through official channels. In Yellowstone, seismographs registered the earthquake. Some geysers changed their eruption timing temporarily, which they've done after large distant earthquakes before. The magma chamber is unchanged. Scientists said so clearly and repeatedly. The footage of steam rising from Yellowstone ran on every cable news channel anyway, next to the footage of Los Angeles burning, because it looked dramatic. The country is trying to understand the scale of what happened. The images from Southern California, collapsed overpasses, burning hillsides, people sleeping in Dodger Stadium's parking lot, are unlike anything in recent American experience. The response is enormous. It's also running into the same problem that affects every large-scale disaster response. The roads into the disaster zone are the same roads that are damaged. 5 days later. Leaving Los Angeles is not going well. The official evacuation routes are the freeways. The freeways have sections that are damaged, sections that are gridlocked, and sections that feed through Cajon Pass, which is operating at a fraction of normal capacity on one lane while engineers assess the structural damage. The alternate routes through the mountains are partially blocked by rock falls. The coastal routes south toward San Diego are passable but crowded. The people leaving are bringing their cars, and the cars need gas, and the gas stations in the affected area either have no power to run the pumps or have run out of fuel, or both. The families who planned ahead have full tanks. The families who didn't are doing the calculation of whether they have enough fuel to get somewhere with a working gas station, which requires knowing where the working gas stations are, which requires working phone service, which is intermittent. Some people are walking. Long stretches of the highways east out of the basin have lanes blocked by abandoned cars, and lanes occupied by people on foot, moving at 3 miles an hour towards somewhere with water and food and a place to sleep that isn't a parking lot. 1 week later, the aftershocks are still coming. A week after a magnitude 8.3 earthquake, significant aftershocks are expected and continuing. 3 above magnitude 5 have hit in the past 48 hours. Each one stops whatever repair work is happening, brings down material from structures that were already compromised, triggers another round of alarm and rumor, and reminds everyone that the ground is not finished moving. Buildings that were marked yellow, damaged but potentially usable, are being downgraded to red after aftershock damage. Streets that repair crews cleared are partially blocked again. A water main that was temporarily patched failed in the last aftershock and flooded the intersection it had been holding. Tent cities have appeared across the basin when in Dodger Stadium's parking lot, in the Rose Bowl along the LA River, in every park large enough to hold them. The people in them are not all homeless. Many of them own homes in Los Angeles or owned apartments there. Their homes are condemned or have no water or are in neighborhoods that are still being told to evacuate. They're waiting for a situation that is improving too slowly. 2 weeks later. Parts of Los Angeles are starting to come back. Power has been restored to significant portions of the city through rerouted transmission and emergency generation. Some water service has returned in neighborhoods where the pipe damage was less severe and repairs were possible. LAX is operating at reduced capacity. Some runways are clear, others are still being inspected. The ground support infrastructure is partially working. Other parts of the city are still where they were a week ago. The neighborhoods closest to the fault trace in the Inland Empire don't have a timeline. The hillside communities that burned don't have a timeline. The apartment buildings condemned after the main shock, which housed hundreds of thousands of people, won't have a timeline until each building is individually inspected and either cleared or demolished, a process that will take months. The people who left Los Angeles immediately after the earthquake are starting to make decisions about whether to come back. Some are coming back, some are looking at the news coverage and deciding to stay where they are for now. Some are looking at what it would cost to return. To pay rent in a city with a dramatically reduced housing supply, to live in a place with uncertain water service and continuing aftershocks. And starting conversations with employers about remote work. 1 month later. The earthquake lasted about a minute. Southern California will be working on what it left behind for years. The fault itself is visible in places, a long scar across the desert, a displaced road where the two sides no longer line up, a cracked concrete bridge that spans a gap that wasn't there before. Engineers have walked the Rupture trace for weeks, documenting the displacement and assessing structures that straddle it. Some of what they've found will be repaired. Some will be rebuilt in a different location, set back from the fault. Some will simply be abandoned. Cajon Pass is operating with restrictions. 1 rail line is back in service. 1 lane of Interstate 15 in each direction is passable. The transmission lines carrying power over the mountains are partially restored. The full corridor, the one that makes Southern California connected to the rest of the country, won't be at normal capacity for a long time. The ports are handling roughly 60% of their pre-earthquake volume. Some berths are open, some aren't. The cranes that were inspected and cleared are running. The supply chains that run through Los Angeles and Long Beach are rerouting around the deficit, which means higher shipping costs and longer timelines in goods that used to arrive on Tuesday arriving sometime the following week maybe. Los Angeles is still there. It's a city of 4 million people with 4 million people's worth of resilience and stubbornness and refusal to leave. The residents who came back are repairing what they can and living with what they can't. The residents who haven't come back yet are watching, deciding, calculating whether the city they left is the city they want to return to. The San Andreas Fault is quiet again, for now.